What's going on, y'all? Solo Vibe Road Life in the building. So I just want to say what's up to y'all. Kind of give y'all a little brief thing of how my day went today out here driving these semi trucks. Well, so far it's been a pretty good day. It's been a good day, just regular stuff. The only thing I would say that happened that would be different today is that I went to a Pilot truck stop and all the pumps were down. And then, you got all these trucks sitting there waiting behind you. And they're getting mad, they're getting angry and stuff like that. That's why it's good to control your emotions out here, because you can get yourself in an altercation with somebody, mess around and lose your job, somebody can get hurt, things like that. So that's why I always practice, controlling my emotions, And I realize that when you eat healthy, you have better brain function to be able to deal with situations. You don't need brain fog when you're out here dealing with crazy people. You need to be able to think fast. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So yeah, I ended up not being able to get through, diesel at the truck stop because it took too long. I needed to get to my last stop of the day on time. You know what I'm saying? So I could, please this company that I'm working for, But my supervisor, he gave me the option to basically go to another truck stop, take another, but that would have ended up making me late. You know what I'm saying? So, but we came up with another plan, so that's good news on that. Another thing I want to talk about is how, sometimes you got some truckers that like to walk up on your truck and stuff. So, especially when you're in sticky situations like that where you got a whole bunch of people waiting behind you, everybody getting heated, everybody got somewhere to go, places to go. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. So, it's best to keep your doors locked when you're dealing with people, and, make sure you watch your surroundings when you at these truck stops, because I don't know, somebody had told me there was a stabbing situation, truck driver violence in the truck stop. Somebody got stabbed. It was a truck driver on the truck driver violence and stuff like that. So you gotta watch your 6, your 12, everything. You gotta watch everything when you're out here. You know what I mean? But yeah, I made it to my first stop, with a lot of ease. Wasn't any issues, a little bit of traffic. But that's your normal things when you're dealing with trucking. You always got some type of traffic and stuff like that. But it's always, like I said, it's always best to plan yourself ahead of time. Because if I would have known that Pilot pumps was gonna be down, I could have, maybe got fuel at another truck stop on the way to my last stop. But you don't know everything, so you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know that these pumps are gonna be shut down, so you kind of just gotta go with the flow. But it's good that the company that I work with, they're pretty cool, pretty laid back, so I don't have any problems. They understand that things happen, stuff like that. But yeah, y'all can put down in the comments for anybody out there, tell me how some of your days have been, or some crazy stories you got at these truck stops. Put it down in the comments, But, before I started focusing on controlling my emotions, I used to be the type that will hop out the truck and confront people when they get mad at me or whatever at the truck stop. But I realized, you can't be like that. Because I was face to face with this one person. He was just being very rude, blowing his horn behind me. But these days, it's best to avoid conflict, because it's not worth getting out the truck, getting hurt, or somebody not being able to go home to their family. We just out here trying to make money like everybody else. But see, the guy behind me today, he said, he said, I'm on E, I'm on red. I'm screwed. I'm screwed. I gotta go, you know. And the guys that's working on the pump, they're like, hey man, it ain't my fault. But he's getting the attitude with the guy that's working on the pump, you know. So that's just a good example, like how people is out here, like just irrational ignorance sometimes, you know. So you really gotta avoid people like that. Like it's ridiculous. You really gotta avoid people. Because a lot of times people don't know how to control their emotions. They let their emotions get the best of them. And I feel like that's how a lot of people end up in jail, because they don't know how to control their emotions. A lot of situations you can just walk away from, but people don't think like that, you know. You're trying to live your life long life. You're not trying to shorten your life with ignorant conflict with other people. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like I said, y'all, you know, whatever you think about it, you know, just put your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe, stuff like that. Please make sure you subscribe, because I'm trying to get my subscribers up, you know, trying to build this channel, things like that. But a little bit, you know, back to the topic, you know, you just got to pay attention to what you're doing and stay out the way, you know, especially when you're, you know, dealing with people that don't know how to control their emotions. But because like whenever I go to the truck stop, I'm always planning like what I'm gonna do. Like I look at it, see how crowded it is. But if you finna just turn in paperwork, there's no reason to go to the pump to get, you know, some people go to the pump and do all their food eating and all that stuff and paperwork scanning at the pump, which is crazy. You shouldn't do that. You should really just go park and then walk in there and handle your business like that. But it's like talking to a brick wall, you know, getting people to understand certain things like that, probably, you know. But I'm gonna keep it positive, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just keeping it real with y'all, you know. But like I said, whenever I'm driving into a truck stop and if I'm not getting fuel, if I'm not getting diesel, you know, I'm finding my way to park inside the parking spot on the truck side, you know, stuff like that. But a lot of times, you know, some people don't feel like backing up into these trucking spots because it can be difficult sometimes, especially if you're not used to, you know, bagging in between two trucks. You may get lucky and park on the side somewhere, and you know how that goes. But yeah, that's my I'm just checking in, you know, day in the life, solo vibe road life, checking in. Y'all have a good day, amazing day, and I'll talk to y'all another time. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate it.